In today's video, we're going to be going over the current conditions where we do have a whole lot going on, including a northeast snowstorm that we're going to dive into, and also the upcoming pattern where we have that big East Coast snowstorm potentially on the way. Also, very deep Arctic air later on in the pattern, looking even colder than we originally suspected. So let's just get into things. And first things first, as always, we're going to just dive into these upcoming or current conditions, better yet, first off, then the upcoming pattern. We can see up and down the west coast here, we have showery activity. You can tell there's a lot of L's all over the place, indicating low pressure, pretty broad low pressure across this western region. We can see rainfall for the lower elevation areas, and then for our higher elevation, more inland areas, we are seeing snowfall. So let's just zoom into a couple of different main areas here, and we'll take a look at the Sierra Nevadas first. We can see some rainfall kind of stretching southward down the coast a little bit, and then we see a lot of curvature here happening in certain spots, and it's throwing some of these bands onto the Sierra Nevada mountains there. And as you can see, extremely heavy snowfall happening in that Sierra Nevada corridor there. We can see a lot of whites indicating very heavy snowfall, and then blues indicating whiteout conditions, or at least near whiteout conditions there. So very, very heavy snowfall occurring in there. As we just work our way a little bit further northeast, we can see some more heavy snowfall in a couple of spots, including central Nevada and then southern Idaho there as well, in northern Utah, also seeing some of that very heavy snowfall. We do have some patches of showery activity happening across Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and Montana there as well. And we are seeing mostly light to moderate showers in here, and it is pretty spotty. Now, as we work our way a little bit further eastward, we can see across the southern United States, we have a lot of storminess in general. Obviously, all rainfall here that we're taking a look at, but thunderstorms for a lot of states like Texas, Louisiana, perhaps Mississippi and Alabama as well. And then it looks a little bit more showery as we work our way a little further northward here into the southeast and deeper south states. Now, as we work our way into the northeast, we can see this low pressure system, very strong low pressure system over Toronto or so, right there. And we can tell that there is a lot of this moderate to heavy snowfall taking place for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut. And a little bit later on, we'll see some of this move its way into Rhode Island and even Maine. Definitely the potential for 3 to 6 inches of snowfall as a maximum are there with this snowstorm. As over the last few days, the models have trended at heavier and heavier snowfall taking place. I certainly see this as a 3 to 6 inch snowfall event for the bullseye areas, and a general dusting to even 1 to 3 inches for other areas there. I would say a bullseye region is going to be somewhere in this pocket here is kind of what I'm suspecting. Kind of the Catskills down through northeastern Pennsylvania, perhaps. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to focus in primarily on the upcoming conditions, because again, there is a bigger snowstorm or snowfall event for the eastern United States expected later on, and even very deep Arctic air, perhaps moving into the eastern United States later on in December. So we're going to talk about all of these things in just a moment. Now, as we reach the model guidance portion of this video, we're going to just take a look, and we can see that this snowfall is expected to continue on throughout the day today, because that's even by about 7 p.m. in a few hours from now, and we'll still be seeing that moderate to heavy snowfall taking place for New York, a little bit of Pennsylvania, New Jersey perhaps, and then we can see Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire seeing some of that as well. We see out there west for the Rockies, we're seeing more of this snowfall pickup as well. Let's just continue this on, and by the time we're reaching about Tuesday morning, we do see that our very strong low pressure system here is developing over the plains, bringing perhaps some severe weather here across those plains. So areas in here, we're really watching for that severe weather potential with this storm as we see this flow to the north right out in front of that cold front. Certainly a pretty decent setup for severe weather. We also see cold air pouring in behind, bringing snowfall to a lot of these states as well. Very, very strong low pressure system, and we can see this really blows up as far as snowstorms are concerned. We see much heavier snowfall developing for the Dakotas, Minnesota, Nebraska, even back through into Montana and Wyoming. And this is by the time we're reaching about 8 p.m. or so on Tuesday. That's going to be the 13th, so just a couple of days from now. Let's just keep going with this. And by the time we're reaching Wednesday afternoon, we can see a lot of this potential for severe weather has moved into the southeast and deeper south. We still see that snowfall happening through the upper Midwest and central plains still by this point. And then by the time we're reaching about Thursday afternoon, the 15th here, we could see this event right here. is starting out. We see freezing rain or mixed precipitation there for a lot of the southern Appalachian Mountains, or I guess the central Appalachian Mountains, not really the southern. I guess the Smokies would be the southern Appalachian Mountains areas down there. We see this switches over to snowfall. We have a more northern solution today, but it has been going back and forth from run to run, so I don't think anything can be ruled out or guaranteed equally, so we need to really watch this closely. Probably some thunderstorm activity here for the further southeast areas there, and then obviously plenty of snowfall happening in the northeastern corner of the nation there, so certainly something to be watched. We see New England, it's becoming more of an elevation event by Friday morning, so certainly looking a tiny bit warmer as this low is just onshore or offshore of New Jersey, right along that coastline. And things intensify as it does move offshore and gets stronger as a low in general. And we see this becomes a very, very heavy snowfall event for states like Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and even Maine there, as this becomes a Miller B nor'easter. Miller B nor'easters move off halfway up the East Coast and then move up. That's a Miller B nor'easter. I'm going to try to B. Miller A nor'easters move all the way from the Gulf and move up the entirety of the East Coast. That's a Miller A right there. Miller A's bring your historic blizzards. B sometimes bring blizzards as well, but your A is going to be your very, very intense blizzards for the eastern United States. Some of the strongest snowstorms ever are usually Miller A's. And then we start to see the Arctic air really begin to pull in at this point by about the next weekend. So Saturday into Sunday, that's the 17th into the 18th. And then look at this right here. I'm watching this closely because this right here, it doesn't connect on this run. It kind of moves right offshore. But this certainly has potential to try to pull up. And if it does pull up the coast, we will have another big eastern snowstorm here with this matchup. Or perhaps it could move in like a slider. If we saw this occur, we could see a lot of these southern areas be thinking about potential for snowfall. Certainly something to take with a grain of salt, but that's a pretty close call there. And I would not be surprised. And look, it even pulls up a little bit here. This is getting me excited, but we see it does pull up a little bit there, just too far off to connect for anything in this corridor. But I would say if this starts to trend just a tiny bit northward here, we could start to see some snowfall potential there for the 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd time frame on this model run if this continues to show this. So this is something exciting to track. We're going to have to continue tracking it. We do upload every single day, and we will go over it every single day. So be sure to subscribe to catch all of these videos when they do come out. Let's go ahead and take a look at that total precipitation through the next 10 days. And as you can see, a lot of the east is going to be the highlighted area for this storminess, which is going to mean, in turn, a lot of snowfall. For the white areas, we expect practically no precipitation. Your grays, 1/10 of an inch or less. Your greens, 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Your blues, 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows, 1 inch to 2 inches. Reds, 2 to 5 inches of precipitation there. And then your browns, 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. We see a lot of that down there for Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama as well. Total snowfall through the next 10 days, and this is subject to change a little bit here, but we see in the grays a dusting, if anything. Blues, 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purple, 6 to 10. Pinks, 10 to 20. Your pastel blues there, 20 to 35 inches of snowfall. And your pastel pinks, like we see over the Sierra Nevadas, are going to be 35 inches plus. Let's just zoom in on the east like we did yesterday. We could even do the northeast here to get an even more zoomed in look. But this is your snowfall event that we are anticipating. This is the one happening today, plus that second one at the very, very end. So we're really watching for heavy amounts of snowfall over the next 10 days. We can see throughout the Green Mountains here, the White Mountains as well, certainly a whole lot, and then obviously your Adirondacks also. So those 3 mountain ranges, they're all expecting over 2 feet of snowfall over the next 10 days, certainly a whole lot. And even some areas that are lower elevation here across the northern valley regions of Pennsylvania, the southern valley regions of New York there, and then for New England, even the lower elevation areas in the northern upper areas are seeing 10 inches plus. So a whole lot of snowfall expected for the northeast over the next 10 days. That could move south, north, east, west. We don't really know. It is a few days out, so we're going to be watching for some trends with that. Certainly another thing to be excited about over the next 10 days to track. Now the temperature pattern, we can see we get this backdoor cold air moving down the east coast. Definitely Not your most common way of getting colder temperatures, but it is certainly going to bring cold temperatures to the eastern United States over the coming days. We see the blues and the greens on the East Coast all the way through Tuesday even. We still see below normal temperatures here, even though the whole East as a whole, I would say, is mostly above normal here. And we see that this all comes to a kind of crash here by the time we're reaching Thursday into Friday, because we do see the warm finally reach that East Coast and cut off that backdoor cold air. But we see the cold front swing through, and at first it brings unseasonably cold temperatures that are pretty, slightly below normal. And then we start to see, by the time we're reaching Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, a lot of those greens working their way in. And look at the look by the time we're reaching the end of the model run here, Tuesday into Wednesday. Look at how deep that Arctic air is. Up here would be just crazy cold. We're maybe talking about polar vortex stuff here in these pink regions, because that's going to be about 50, I would say 40 to 50 degrees below normal. Your average temperature is 50. Well, you're going to be taking a look at 10 or 0 degrees if your average temperature is 50. And I'm sure their averages are much lower than that up there. So, yes, this would be extreme cold temperatures. And even these green and blue areas down here would be far below normal temperatures. So, very, very cold air potentially on the way. This is at the very end of the model run, so we will take it with a grain of salt. But this model is trending colder and colder and colder as time moves on. And we obviously have expected colder temperatures to move in during December. So everything is kind of playing a little bit later than expected, but it's sort of going as planned, just not the exact time that it was expected, if that makes sense. So we'll have to watch how this pans out. Again, we do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe. Be sure to hit that bell icon as well for daily notifications when we do upload. Also, like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below. And I will see you guys in the next video.